Hi, everyone. Welcome. It must be Monday. I'm Mia Voss, and I'm here in, where am I? JGOOT Village, free community where we teach anyone, and we mean anyone, the basics of how to travel anywhere in the world for free. I have a guest today. Hi, Linda.
Hi, Mia.
I'm excited. Look at this. We're going to be talking about Linda's solo travelers, going to African safari. We're going to trade notes about our African safari travels, though, aren't we?
Sure.
Because I've had that too, but I want to see all your pictures. I mean, you're starting off really well with this fabulous picture too. You kind of like drop the mic right there. So let me say hi to a few people real quick before we get started. Of course, right off the bat, Brooke from above is here. Hi, Brooke. Nice to see you. Let's if everybody could comment and make sure that we're live. I've got my phone here just to make sure everything is going well. And as usual, I say every week, please go to streamyard.com/Facebook and give that permission so we can see your comments. That's the only thing you're giving it permission to, not to worry. You're not giving your life away. We also have Anthony here. Hello, my friend. How are you? And Brooke says, I find Linda's travels to be so inspiring. I can't wait for today's presentation. This is why I love this job, because I just get to sit here and hear all these cool stories, right? Which I absolutely love. Let's see who else we have here. And we are, well, and of course, Linda is a JGOOT Lounge member, and we're going to talk about that a little bit as well, too. But please comment. I'd love to hear one, if you've been to Africa, where you've been in Africa. Linda's going to talk about her spots. And like I said, I will as well. But we would love to hear that. And look who's in the peanut gallery right here. Joel McDonald. Join us for Linda's African Safari travels. Thank you. Oh, hi from Glendora, California. Yes, tell us where you're from. I love it when people say that, by the way, that we can get to know all the different locations. And as usual, we love having guests though, because we're going to go through pictures, but I like it too. Linda, you're going to tell us how you did this solo travel, right?
Sure.
I know we got
Yep.
all the slides to show it too. So how about we just get started as people sort of roll in, and I'll be pulling in comments as well too. But I know you're, as I said, a lounge member. So tell us about how you joined the lounge, what your travel was like before, and let's sort of hear your story. What's your story?
Well, I found the village on Facebook just by chance and was watching that for a couple of months and then did my phone call. And I immediately knew it was a place I wanted to be because I travel every year, 2 weeks in January. Always went economy travel and wanted to do it better. Did a lot of Gate One and Travel Zoo kind of deals. So we got decent deals, but not as good as I get since I've been in the lounge. So I've been in the lounge about a year and a half and have scheduled a lot of trips since I've been in.
Which I love. And let me just pull this up here too. So of course you're here in the village. This is where we do the show every week. And it's either Joel or different guests that we have. But Linda's talking about the lounge where you really up your game. And that's guaranteed strategies to travel in luxury for budget prices. So we have a lot of our coaches and experts here in the audience, which I love. So even if we don't get to a question that you may have, our coaches answer them. But if you could just comment interested, and they will set up a call with you, which what Linda's referring to. We want to make sure it's a good fit as well too. Who was your call with, Linda?
I think it was Melanie.
Oh, nice. Okay,
And then I got to meet her at one of the meetups.
Which I love. Which meetup did you go to?
Last year in 22, I went to 3 of them, but I've always had some trip or a race or something scheduled this year, so I haven't made it. I can't make it to any of them in 23.
I understand. And we just had one in Park City this weekend. So what we're talking about are lounge members getting together. We have one each quarter, and it's such a wonderful way for people to get together, share their travel stories and also their travel tips, which is what we do in the lounge as well too. So tell us a little bit more about what you actually do, and then again, what your travel was like before the lounge, and then we'll jump into your presentation.
Yeah, so I'm a veterinarian for horses. So I'm pretty busy. So I could only travel in January when work was slow. And I travel either by myself or recruit some friends to go with me. And it's different friends that go depending on what trip I do. And we just got back from Dubai and Abu Dhabi that I actually went with Whitney, who was in the lounge, because the two of us saw the same special. So I actually got together with another single lounge member and went on a trip.
I love this too. We talk a lot about different trips, but I think this is one of the first times we've really addressed specifically solo travel, which I have done a ton of that as well pre JGOOT, and I found it refreshing. Honestly, I love either traveling by myself or traveling with friends, of course, with loved ones too. But I was not fearful about it too. We can talk about that. Please feel free to pop your questions for Linda in here as well. If she had any fears that she overcame and all that good stuff. If you want to share, that would be great. But yes, Brooke is right. The casual line. I just got back from Abu Dhabi. Loungers on a regular basis. That is really, really true too. Linda, yes, she says she's from Denver. She wished she had this information last year before she went to South Africa. Well, then go again. South Africa is amazing. Absolutely. And here's Joel. Thank you, Joel, for this comment. Learn to travel like Linda. 1, go to jgoot.com and get our book, jgoot.com/book, or just comment book. We'll send you a link. Step 2, ask the questions about it here in the village. Step 3, apply what we teach and start traveling bigger and better, which is what you're going to talk about. And then also step 4, if you want personal help, book a call to see if that coaching program, because that's what the lounge is too. It's not just it's not a lounge. You don't lounge around. You ask a lot of questions and you learn a ton of information. Someone else says, I'm going to Dubai, but unfortunately not the JGOOT Way, going with a group of people, but would love to go with the hubby when they get back and go the JGOOT Way too. Lots of tons of great questions here too, or comments here too. So, well, good. And so you had travel beforehand, and what was that? Tell us what the difference is like and what it's like now with this trip that you just took, and then we'll get into it.
It was always flying economy in the cheapest hotels we could find. And it was usually for some event. So we went on a bike ride, we did a tour. It wasn't just go and stay in a hotel. It was for some event. So we had specific times we had to go, specific times we had to be there. And you met a group of people. So if I was single, I would just go, and then you meet people on the tour. So you're not by yourself going around. And I've never paid a single supplement because I always tell them I'll share a room. And if they don't find somebody to share with, then you get the room to yourself. But most of the time I got put up with a roommate and everything was always good.
Linda, what's a supplement?
So if you go by yourself, like on a cruise or something, then you have to pay for 2 people, or not the full 2 people rate, but most of it, since there's only one person in the room. Or if you go on some kind of a tour, it's always for 2 per person, 2 people or more. So they charge you extra if you're by yourself.
I love this. I'm not sure this comment is, but they said, how cool you met up with another member who saw the Dubai deal. That is definitely the JGOOT way as well too. I absolutely love that. And we've got a couple other questions that we'll get towards the end about more of the planning and the specifics. But Linda, you want to go ahead? Well, I'm going to pop in and we're going to start going through this presentation. You ready?
Sure.
Well, tell us where this picture's at first.
I was in Kenya in the Masai Mara, which is a big, huge piece of land in Kenya, and it is part of the Great Migration. So when you get to the end of the Masai Mara, you come out on the Serengeti. So we did a horseback ride across Kenya, and we got so close to these animals. We got a little closer than this to the giraffes, close to zebras. You couldn't get on horseback close to elephants or buffalo because they're dangerous, or hippopotamus. But some of these, not the carnivores, you could get pretty close on horseback, which is pretty cool. We cantered around, and like the zebras were cantering next to us.
I agree, Brooke. Horseback riding across Kenya, swoon. Exactly. We haven't even gotten into the presentation. All right. So tell us more about, so you've had a fixed date for Kenya for this safari.
Yeah, so
this
I
was just
knew this
back
August, that I was going to go on this, of August 22, that I was going in 23. So I started looking for flights basically a year in advance when they opened. So I knew I had to be there then. I was by myself, but I had been with one of the people that set up this trip. I had been 10 years ago with her on a horseback safari in Botswana. So she got me into this one. Again, I said I would share a room or a tent, but there was 12 people on the tour. There were 3 couples, then 2 single men and 4 single women. So 2 of the women shared a tent, but the other woman wanted to pay for her own. So I got my own for the regular price because there was nobody to share with. So
I love that.
This was part of my group when we left the airport to get to our camp, riding on the top of the Jeep. But when I booked it, I wanted to go business class both ways. and I had about a week of flexibility, so I could go a couple days early, stay a couple days late. So it wasn't totally flexible, but I had about a week to play with around the safari.
Quick question for you. So, of course, this is when you just joined the lounge when you started this?
I had been in the lounge about 6 months.
Okay, and that's good to know, but, where you
Yeah,
were at in your
when I
learning
booked it.
process.
Yeah.
And then did you also bounce around a lot of things to people within the group to help you come up with these things like getting those extra few days, knowing what your goals were and so forth?
I kind of knew I wanted to do that all on my own because if I'm going all the way to Africa, I didn't want to just be on the safari and just see Nairobi and some other things. So I
Mhm.
knew I wanted to spend the extra week.
Where were you flying from?
I'm in Maryland, so my local airports are either Dulles or BWI. So most of these international trips I book out of Dulles.
Okay, perfect. So we talk about this a lot in the village and in the lounge about positioning where you are going to look for flights. It's not necessarily from your home airport, but you know that you can get to that airport that's the hub to get out of the country. And it is a it is a long flight, isn't it?
Yes, but not
It's a
so
long
long when you're in business class lie flat.
No, ma'am, it is not because I did not fly that the last time I went. I went to Zimbabwe and South Africa in November of 2019, and that was one of those, as God is my witness, I will never fly like this again, but that was before I really knew the JGOOT Way too, so it was easy to do that. So you had a week of flexibility around the safari dates, which I love. All right, so here's what you got to get out of town.
Yeah, this was Ethiopian Airlines. So I had been looking to see what was available before the flights even opened. So I found this one on my own with what I learned in a lounge, and it went from my home airport through ADD to Nairobi. It only had like an hour and 30-minute layover, so you didn't have to do anything. You pretty much got there directly. Um, these I had the window seat. That was my window seat, and it
Mm,
went down to a lay flat. It was a configuration that if the person on the aisle was sleeping, you had to step over them to get out. So
okay.
that's just the setup on this plane. But it was a very comfortable seat. I had been on, this was my second business class flight, and I was on Turkish Airlines before, and Turkish was way better than Ethiopian. I mean, the seats were a little aged, a couple things stuck they had to fix, but it was still very comfortable. It was a lay flat seat, and those were two of our stewardesses there. They took really good care of you.
I love that, and I've made this a little bit bigger so we could all see that. So Aeroplan, 90,000 points and just $39, right?
Yeah. Yep. And when I booked it, there was a transfer bonus. So I really only spent 79,000 and the $39.
Oh my goodness. This is insanely awesome. And then, and I love that you put these dates on here, Linda. Thank you that you booked this on September 2nd. So you're giving us a timeline. So I really appreciate that too. Were you feeling comfortable
Yeah.
about that date that you were still going to be another, what, 10 months out at that point?
Right. Because I had to pay for the safari ahead of time anyway. So, yeah. And on the points, if I had to cancel, I could get the points back into Aeroplan. So,
Ooh, good to
um,
know.
yeah. So there was no fee. If I had to cancel, I would just get the points back.
I'm gonna pop this in here real quick. Somebody wanted to know what is the difference, meaning like the size and type of the airplane between the Ethiopian and the Turkish Airlines?
Turkish was, I guess, more modern. Um, there wasn't a place, anything out was absolutely
Oh,
pristine. With these seats, like I went back and it stuck, and you had to move something around to get it to go all the way back and to sit back up. It was definitely a more aged plane than Turkish was.
okay.
Um, Turkish was just amazing. When you had dinner, they had a little light up candle on your table.
Cute.
So it was just a lot fancier and even better service. This was pretty darn good. But Turkish
Again,
was better.
these are all problems we love to have. Brooke, great point too. I love it when you get to your point in your JGOOT travels where you can start to compare which business classes you like best. Yes, I do too. Somebody asked if it was because of the airline or the airplane itself.
Just the comfort of the seats inside.
Okay.
I came back another airline, which we'll talk about in a bit, and there was a huge difference.
Yeah.
But this was still not economy. It was
really,
pretty comfortable.
It really isn't. And that's, I think I flew on Delta from Atlanta to Johannesburg, and it was like Comfort Plus, which is just such an oxymoron. So yeah, no.
If I hadn't been on Turkish, I would never have noticed.
I bet. I love that.
So this was our part of our meal service. So they came around with all these local dishes, and you could get what you wanted out of that they served you. So these were some of our meals, the breakfast and snacks. You had the fruit, and then a couple of these others were just their local different dishes. And so when I looked up the cash price of my flight, it varied depending on when you looked. It was never the same cash price, but somewhere in that range of $2,500 to $3,500 for the one-way flight. So it averaged out somewhere between 3 and 4 cents per point.
And we talk about all of this in the book. If someone wants to comment too, what chapter they think would be best to refer to this, that'd be wonderful. But comment book, and we'll get you a link to that, because all of these things that Linda's talking about that she learned in the lounge, but also we put so much of this into the book too, which I love. That again, only spent $39 and 79,000 points. Somebody had asked if this is round trip. No, this is your outbound that we're talking about.
Just one way. Yep.
Yes. Okay. Oh gosh, that looks amazing. What a great way to get acclimated and already into the mode of the trip, right? the cuisine of the spots that you're going. So then you had a local airport.
This was my second flight. So when we were in Nairobi, our tour group, our safari group, picked us up at the little Wilson Airport in Nairobi, and we flew on these little planes to this airport that had 2 Jeeps, and it was a dirt runway. So that was our next one, and it was an hour flight. And I said there were 2 classes. You were the pilot or the passenger. Everybody could see out of all the same windows.
Oh my gosh, look at that. That's wonderful. That's local charter flighting. And this flight was included in the safari, so you didn't have to worry about that, right?
Yep.
Somebody wants to know, I am going to pop questions here. Which point did you use? URMR, was it transferred to Ethiopian Air to get to the transfer bonus?
I transferred it to Aeroplan to buy the ticket, so not directly to Ethiopian. And I don't remember which one it was, but I think it was Chase Points, but it could have been Amex. I don't remember which one.
And
I think it was Chase.
But you know what, comment book, again, I keep saying that too, because then you can learn about these Chase and Amex points too, which is such a linchpin in our JGOOT program here too. Brooke, agree, 3,500 flight for $39 winning. Absolutely. Hey, I'm not sure who this is, but great. Thank you for asking, because it is being recorded. As soon as we get done here, you'll be able to watch the entire replay, which you'll want to, because we're going through a lot of information too. So I love that. Okay, I'm going to ask one more question. I can't help it because we're talking about this right now. Hi, Kay. Nice to see you. If you use points for a trip and your flight is canceled, do you get an equivalent seat when you rebook? I don't know if you know that, especially if you got a very inexpensive price.
I don't think so, but if I cancel, then I just get my points back and I have to rebook it, whatever's available. So yes. I have not luckily been in the situation where the airline has canceled my flight. So we'll have to ask an expert at another time about that. But I know if I canceled, I just get my points back to Aeroplan.
And thank you for that, because your answer actually is a great way to explain that everything is, depends on the trip that you're taking. It's not just a one size fits all when you're learning the JGOOT way. So it could be that, yes, you're getting your points back and you'll have to do the work again to find another flight. But the point is you get your points back, right?
Yes.
Brooke, thank you. If you don't understand transfer partners or transfer bonuses or MRs or URs, and we're going to just leave it using acronyms because that's what we do at JGOOT, go ahead and jump in and get that. Go to jgoot.com/book and you'll learn the ways. That's all I have to say about that. All right. So next, are you ready for the next slide?
Yep.
Okay. Return flight. Here we go.
Yeah. So on the return, I was trying to book it myself, but the only things I could find for points that were acceptable to me I had to spend 9 hours in Cairo. So being single and flying by myself, I've been to Cairo before. I don't want to stay in the airport for 9 hours, and I'm not going out to tour Cairo by myself. Just not a place for a single woman to be touring around, even with a driver. So I got on a checkpoint, and I was with Thomas on a checkpoint and had him try and help me find a way home. So he found me this flight, which went from Nairobi through Amsterdam. And there was a 9-hour layover in Amsterdam. I can't get back from Africa to DC without a 9 or 10-hour layover. But I can spend 10 hours in Amsterdam by myself. This was very attractive to me. And then I had to position to JFK because this flight came back to New York. That'll be on the next slide. But I really liked this. It was 95,000 points and $442 booked with Air France. And it was a KLM flight, KLM medal. And I also had a transfer bonus to that. So really only spent 76,000. But this was the KLM flight. And it was also business class. So if you compare this one to the Ethiopian, you can see how much nicer it is. You kind of have a cubicle. You don't have to step over anybody. And it was just so much nicer.
I love this little side table situation, and you've got your own little console to your side there.
But
you
this
store
was
things, it looks like.
This was the same class flight as that Ethiopian seat.
Oh, great point. See, that's the interesting things, and you can always check out what the type of flight is and see what that setup is going to be too. What an incredible difference, though. And again, booked on September 2nd, right?
Yep.
Brooke had a good. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Brooke had a good comment too. You mentioned your checkpoint with Thomas. So Thomas is one of our experts here. He was on the show a couple weeks ago too. Had a lot of great information to share with you. And you can look up all of these shows that we've had here in the Facebook group. You can also join us on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel for JGOOT as well. You can watch the replays. But checkpoints are in our group coaching program inside of the Lounge, which is our high-end coaching program. I bet that was really helpful to have Thomas.
It was. I really like spending 10 hours in Amsterdam, which I think is the next slide.
I'm going to pop this in here real quick. What's a transfer bonus?
The credit cards, when you redeem your points, will have specials where you can get 25 or 30% to specific airlines or plans when you transfer points. And I just happened to be booking this when there were transfer bonuses.
And it just depends on the timing. But Carrie is right. It's talked about in the book. So go to jgoot.com/book. Listen, don't get sick of it, but you're going to hear me say a lot. It's in the book because Joel put a lot of work into it to put it into the book. So it's easy for you to read it and read over it again and again and again. This is not just a one and done with the learning program here, people. It's something that you're constantly learning. You are too, right, Linda?
Yes. If I hadn't, the programs change, different websites where you look for flights change. So it is very dynamic.
Love that. I dig the hat you're wearing there too. You look very snappy.
I bought that in Africa. It has a hand beaded band on it that you can't quite see that the Maasai warrior made for me.
Oh, you're kidding. Oh, how special, right?
It is.
Oh my gosh, that is wonderful. So thank you. Lynn says, hold on, here it is. Yep, she's read it twice, and she's ready to read it again too. Real quick, as far as the Lounge, Anthony, thanks for this comment. Because of our minimum of $10,000 in free travel guarantee, we personally interview all the people and all the potential clients to make sure that this paid membership is a mutual fit. And no, I'm not going to tell you how much it is. You need to get the call and see if it's a fit for everyone. So just set up a call. You can go set one up, a 10 to 15 minute chat with Anthony, or just say interested, and one of our coaches will get in touch with you. All right, next up.
And this was my third business class trip since joining the Lounge, and I saved $5,000 to $10,000 on each one.
That's incredible. Brooke, thanks for this comment too. She loves how flexible you were. You didn't want to lay over in Cairo, which is understandable. As a single person, you felt it wasn't safe for you. And so you went through Amsterdam instead, where you could easily and comfortably and have that comfort level of spending 9 hours too. So find what your comfort level is, right?
Yep. That's the next slide.
Okay, here we go. All right.
Oh, after this.
Oh,
So I still
oh,
had to get home from JFK. So if we
that's
finish
true.
my flight home, that is the next slide.
Okay.
So again, this flight, when I looked at it, was somewhere between $35 and $4,000, depending on when you looked. So that was about a 4.5 cent redemption
Mm-hmm.
coming home. But I had to get back from JFK back to Maryland. So I found a first class Delta flight from JFK that took me to BWI, which was closer to my house than Dulles. And it was like only an hour and a half flight. I paid cash for it. But what I learned in the lounge, I looked at the economy seat because it's an hour and a half flight. And the
Mm-hmm.
economy seat was like $50 cheaper, but you had to pay $30 for a bag. So it was like $20 more just to pay for the first class, which included a bag. And I never would have even looked at that before, JGOOT. And the
Sure.
timing was just perfect to get me home late at night. So I just went ahead and booked it.
Great example of deciding to use your cash as opposed to using your points, right?
Yep.
And normally you wouldn't choose to do a first class with that short of a flight. Most of the J-Gooters are
Right.
like that. However, for that, what, 20 buck difference, let's face it, I would be taking my happy self on a first class because I know you need it after coming back, after flying
Yep.
that long and going through different time zones. And it's a whole thing.
Yep.
Perfect timing to transfer from an international flight. I agree. That's
And I
wonderful.
took that picture of the giraffes from my horse
Oh, see, now I
with my
love that.
cell phone.
That's real. Isn't that wonderful for us that we don't have to carry this big camera anymore? That's a big camera in a tiny phone. But I love the beauty of it being on the horse. I was going to ask you if that was yours. I knew better. That was your photo. Okay,
Yep.
next step.
All
All right,
right.
so here we
This
go.
was the KLM lounge, and I actually got lost in this lounge.
Stop.
I had to ask where the exit was because when I got off my plane for the layover, I went and left my carry-on bag there. And then I had to leave the lounge. And there were, I mean, it was 2 floors. You can see the signs. There were so many places. I got a shower, all kinds of different food. There was anything you could possibly want in this lounge. And it was as big as a hotel. So
Oh,
it was absolutely amazing.
it looks like it. I'm looking at the different little categories. Eat and drink is the city, the sea, recharge, refresh, sleep. So did you end up going to that portion at all? The sea,
No,
tell us.
because I went out to Amsterdam to play. So then I
Okay.
came back to the shower and got back on the plane.
Oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
love this. And was this lounge part of how did you access the lounge? What was that part of?
Because I was flying KLM business class. And this was the lounge that was in Amsterdam. So I had been from Nairobi to Amsterdam and I was leaving Amsterdam to go to JFK.
So I think what's wonderful is, is your business class seat qualified you for the lounge or through a credit card. So no, she was saying that's that for the business class seat. Getting lost, right? These are problems that we love. Yes, Carrie, I agree. Love a good lounge. And what's beautiful about that, there's so much money that's still being saved when you go to these lounges because you're saving money on food, drinks, and even just that, there's so much value in being able to take a shower and get refreshed before you go on to your next leg. I'm really low grade jealous right now. And this was at Schiphol, right? Is that
I
the
think
airport?
so. Yeah. Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
'cause it's a lot different than when I flew through there through 1989. Tell me you're old without telling me you're old, comments like that, right?
So
Although
this
I
was
think you can.
fun 9 hours in Amsterdam. I booked a tour, like a 3-4 hour bike tour through Viator. And we had
Mhm.
Mike as our guide. And you could not have laughed more on this 3-hour bicycle tour of Amsterdam than with this lady. She was absolutely a hoot. The next one shows where we rode, but we rode through the park, we rode through the city. She told us all kinds of tips on Amsterdam and the history. So it was a really good tour. And I had contacted them before and asked, how do I get to the airport from the tour? And all you do is buy a bus ticket in the gift shop in the airport, walk out on where the cars are. There's a bus. It takes you right there. It's a half a block walk to where the bike place was. It was very easy, even by myself. I just got on the wrong bus going the wrong direction, but they told me that. So I had to get off and go across the street. But other than that, it was really easy.
That even sounds like an accidental fun piece to it too. Oh my gosh, she looks like a hoot. And I
I
do
had the
love.
right number bus, but the wrong direction.
You're right. Still, I got a good view. Brooke, I so agree. Instead of being discouraged by a long layover, Linda turned it into a day trip to Amsterdam, showered, ate in the lounge, and then got back on the plane too. But thank you for these pictures because I think that's really fun. And is it Viator? Viator? Is that how you say it? I always say it
I
wrong.
don't, that's how I say it.
Okay, now I'm going to say it that way too, which I like. But that was great to get tours through them as well too. So I dig that you're getting out of it wasn't even a comfort zone you're out of. You went into a comfort zone and did some really
Yeah.
cool stuff. Hey, here's a good question. Thank you, Sue. Was your luggage still in the airport?
Yes, I just had a carry-on bag and I left that in the KLM lounge. They have lockers.
I cannot believe I even slept on asking you that question. How did you pack? Talk about that. How did you do and how long was that trip?
Well, it was 2 weeks and I did ride horses. So I needed my helmet. They're actually half chaps, kind of like boots that you wear, and my riding boots to go. So that takes up a lot of space in the luggage. But when I went, I'll show you, well, we went to the elephant sanctuary, but I'm a veterinarian. So I contacted the elephant sanctuary ahead of time and I brought them a bunch of medicines they could not get in Africa. So they're liquids. So I had to check the bag going over, but I kind of made sure that when I took all the medicine out, that I could fit it all coming back. And I could pretty much, but I'd have to wear my helmet and my boots coming home. But I did end up coming back with carry-on. It was pretty tight.
Oh, gotcha, which I love. That's so interesting. I did that too when I went to Africa. I took things over that I could leave. And when I went on my safari, I left my binoculars with the guides because there are people that are just doing incredibly important work protecting the wildlife. And a lot of my things that I used on that trip, I just left there with the folks that I visited. So that's a really great pro tip, by the way. Check in with the places that you're going. Check in with your tour guides and see if there's something that you can bring that's of use to them and then leave it there. That's wonderful. Okay, awesome. Let me see if there's any other. Oh, I know. I love her too. Thank you for taking medicine to the elephants in Africa. I need a little melty emoji here. Somebody wants to know what safari outfitter did you use?
That'll be on one of these. It'll be on a slide when we keep going.
Okay, good. That's wonderful. Oh, Shannon said, hi, Shannon. Viator. I Googled how to pronounce it. Watch the whole long commercial to hear the pronunciation. Yes, I'm a nerd like that. Yes, you are, and I'm here for it. Google thinks, by the way, I was asking Google something. My phone is lighting up over here. We've got a question. I'll pop this in here. Love that you did that regarding the medicines for the animal sanctuary. I try to make things, it's not a question, it's a comment. I try to make things I can leave, for instance, pencils and paper for children, or I even have wee monkeys with pop-out hearts for children in schools. Thank you, Sue. Oh, y'all share stories like that too, even if I don't pull that up in the comments. We'd love to have this here on the live stream. All right, and here's your biking tour.
Yep, we went through the park, we went through the city. But it was a really good introduction to Amsterdam.
Oh, it is such a beautiful, beautiful spot for sure.
Yep.
All right. So before safari, 2 days in Nairobi.
Yeah. So I went 2 days early. So I got there in the morning and I stayed at kind of an Airbnb type place that belonged to the sister of the tour operator. So everybody was staying there and it was a nice cottage all to myself. It was like $100 a night. And it was absolutely beautiful. But I could walk from there to the giraffe center. So I got there early. Everyone was coming the next day. So I walked down and got to feed the giraffes at the giraffe center. And from that, you can see there's a giraffe hotel that everybody that goes to Nairobi wants to stay in because the giraffes come right up to your room. And it was right across the area from the same giraffes go to the giraffe hotel. But I couldn't find any availability on point for the giraffe hotel. So I just had to walk over to see the giraffe. So that was my first afternoon by myself. And lovely. They had a driver, Fred. Fred was our driver. So the second day, somebody else came. So he took us, go back one slide.
You bet.
Yeah, so the second day we went to the Sheldrick Wildlife Sanctuary and they had baby orphan elephants. They told the story.
Oh, wait. You went to Sheldrick?
Yes, that's where I brought the medicine.
Oh, my
So
gosh, Sheldrick Young,
us,
please go follow them. Oh my gosh, I'm literally melting into a puddle. I
but
follow them and they are so incredible and I donate to
yeah.
them as well too. So that is amazing,
So
Linda.
there
Ooh,
was a big long line to get in. They only do it like at 12 o'clock every day. So our driver took us to the front of the line. We skipped the line. We got to go back and meet the owner and the director, and I gave her the medicines. And then we got a little bit of special treatment, which was pretty cool. And my friends got to come with me.
oh my, I can't take it. Oh my gosh, I adored you before this, and now I'm really kind of got a low grade girl crush on you. So get ready for it. Okay, you ready for the next slide?
Yeah, we're ready.
Okay, love it.
So
Okay.
then after the safari, I stayed 3 extra days. So the first day, one other person stayed with me. He's the one sitting there at the table on the left when we went out to eat. But he took
Mhm.
us to the National Museum. We went to the Karen Blixen Museum, if you're an Out of Africa fan.
Mhm.
And then he took us some really cool places to eat and shopping, little shopping areas. Um, if I was in Nairobi by myself without the driver, it would have been hard because every place has these big, huge gates and walls. You can't see what's behind the wall. They just have a little sign. And he took us through some of these gates through the walls, and it just opened up into an oasis, which we would never have found without him.
And that's Fred, right?
That's Fred. Yep.
Okay,
So he
wonderful.
took us there, and then the other person on the tour left. So I was by myself for 2 days after. So,
Real quick, I just want to bring this up. That's wonderful, Kathy. Great comment and question. Isn't booking the trip and then looking for flights counter to the JGOOT Way? Does the book going over have to do with something? Does the book go over how to do something like this? Yes, one, and I'm going to pop this in here too. But Anthony, oh, I love it when you give me this. Yes, it's a lot more challenging, requires a lot more skill to reverse engineer, but that's part of why you Linda recruited help to get this done.
and it was a year ahead of time. So that helped a bunch that everything was right when flights opened up. And I had the points and I was ready to book when flights opened up. And I had
Hmm.
some choices where I saw some people booking Africa 6 months out or 8 months out, and they were having a lot more time, lot more trouble finding flights that worked for them than I did. It was pretty, I had choices when I booked right when they opened a year out.
That is really smart, and thank you for that pro tip on that as well too. Now, somebody just mentioned that Mira is here in the house, so let's say hi to Stan and Mira. Mira, nice to see you. I haven't seen any comments from you yet, darling, but we always love seeing your beautiful, radiant presence in here. And then again, as I mentioned, we have a lot of our also fabulous JGOOT experts and lounge members and coaches that are in here too, which I totally dig. Oh, real quick, did I ask you this already? What safari outfitter did you use?
Well, it was Safaris Unlimited. And they do horseback safaris, they do jeep safaris, they do walking safaris, they do bicycle safaris. They don't do just horses. And it's Gordy and Felicia Church, and they are absolutely amazing. It's first class treatment all the way.
Wonderful. And if you don't mind, Linda, when we're done here, if you would pop in a link so they can get a little good juice and a little
Sure.
promotion too with their Facebook page. I also highly recommend Hills of Africa Travel. Now they are that's who I traveled with too back when I was doing more of a travel blogging type of thing. And they're so reputable. And I know Linda's source is as well too. And I'll post a link in here too. You can make your choices. But if it's somebody that's recommended here from JGOOT, then you know that we've done our work and vetted them quite a bit. You ready for the next one?
Ready. Yep.
Okay. And that's a
So,
great point too. Sorry about Fred and like see how hard it is to see that. So having this trusted source to tell you where to go is great, right?
yep. And
Okay. Oh,
so
look at
the
this.
day after, another Viator, I saw a bicycle safari, and I said, wouldn't that be cool? So it was about a 3 hour drive, but the tour included, they picked me up at the hotel, drove me out there. We stopped at a big overlook, which was absolutely stunning. And then it was me and the guide, and we biked by the zebras, we biked by the giraffes. You couldn't get so close to the buffalo, but this
Mhm.
is the only national park that allows walking tours and bicycle tours because they don't have lions or leopards that'll eat you up. So, but it was a really cool experience. We saw baboons, the zebras, the giraffes. It was a really good day.
Oh my gosh, it looks beautiful. And of course, some folks don't know about you that you actually own a zebra.
I own a zebra. I have a pet zebra. But
What's
zebras are my favorite.
their name?
Xena.
Xena the zebra. Oh, I
Yeah.
absolutely love that. I have my mom here. I'm here in Illinois today, by the way. I'm visiting my mother, and she's closing the window for me because I've got, you know what happens when you're doing these live streams. If you see that person off to the side, that's my little momsy. Real quick comments. So this, when people ask when I say about going to streamyard.com/Facebook so I can see your picture. So this apparently is my darling Mira. But for some reason, sometimes you can't see that. So when I say that to you, that I can't see your name and your picture, this is what it looks like. You may be able to see it when you're actually watching the broadcast, but we can't see it. So for some reason, I can't see my darling girl, but Carrie's telling her, go to streamyard.com/Facebook. That's what we mean. If you're always wondering, like, why, I can see it. She's hiding from me, she says, though, which I love. Okay. Brooke or Carrie, I agree. Pet zebra, that's that's hilarious too. Hey, what is Hell's Gate National Park?
It's about 3 hours from Nairobi, but it's called Hell's Gate because sometime in history, a bunch of people died there in a fire, I think. So that's why it's named that. But it's a smaller park, but if you want to walk and hike or bike and see the animals, it's the only place you can go do that.
Oh my gosh, that is just, and I love that you're so active on it, that you're either on a horse or biking. I know for the tours that I did, that was really, more on those. I can't remember it's Toyota, but it was a different kind of brand than you have here in the States, but it's the big, stacked vehicles, the viewer vehicles too. So,
yeah. So this was the day of my whole adventure. Was the third day afterwards, and Fred took me and I went to the national park. So behind these rhinos, you can see the skyline of Nairobi. But if you go to Nairobi National Park, I saw so many rhinos, and that's the one thing I hadn't seen on my 2 African safaris. I never saw a rhino, but there was black rhinos and white rhinos. These are not, I don't know which ones they are. They're all the same color, but it's something different with their mouth, and I don't remember which is which, but we saw both black ones and white ones and the baby one.
You're like, they look the same, but they knew. So that's, thank you for that distinction. I'm learning something new today too.
But this was a Jeep safari, just me, and it was a private day, me and the driver. And so we drove around, so we didn't have to stay looking at something longer than I wanted to. And it was a really good day until the end when his car overheated and we got stuck out there, which is kind of dangerous because there are lions there and you don't want to get stuck out in a broke down car in the national park. So it was a little hairy for a while, and we were about 2 hours late getting back, and Fred was looking for me, and it was a bit of an ordeal.
Oh, sure. Fred was like checking his watch every 2 seconds, but that does sound like a wonderful option to have that personal touch. And was that something that you paid extra then, I'm assuming?
Yeah, this was probably my most expensive day because I did pay for it by myself, but it was well worth every penny to go do that.
Roberta, I think this answers your question. Looking forward to this, planning a trip in 2025. Was there ever a what if the animals are in a good mood today? There's your what if. And then
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, if they're not in a good mood, they fight with each other. So on the horseback safari, we did see 2 hippos fighting. It was amazing to watch these 2 hippos fighting.
They are cute, but they are not. What is it they say? The mosquito and the hippo, that the largest and the smallest are the 2 most dangerous creatures. And now, did they tell you also how to dress specifically? Because I know when we were in Zimbabwe, they do let you know the different colors to wear when you're out on safari.
Yeah, the safari told you to wear kind of safari colors. So your dull greens and stuff. But we did have one of our safari mates, an Irish gentleman that was a lot of fun, didn't read the memo. So he wore bright yellow, bright green, bright red, bright purple. So you will survive, but you'll get picked on. But yeah, he wore every bright color, and he just didn't read that you were supposed to wear dull colors.
This would be me. Like, not, don't sit next to me, sir. You go sit over there. You got picked on. That is really cute. I love that. We definitely have some good comments and questions on here too. Definitely on my bucket list. I know we agree too. Oh, here's a comment. I lived in Nairobi in the 60s. My dad used to drive us through the game parks. Anyone could drive through them in their own vehicle for free. Oh, how fun. Yeah, good point. But the Maasai warriors wear very colorful clothing, robes, mostly red, because they're badass.
Yeah, that's what our Irishman thought.
He thought, what, I can do it too. Oh gosh, I
All
love the
right, so
tent.
this was our accommodations on the safari, and this was
Mm-hmm.
my tent. So I had a tent by myself. If you're a couple, they had a double bed. If you were two singles, they put another single bed.
Mm-hmm.
But the upper right was my cabin, and from a distance on the center on the top, and then on the center on the bottom, that was your like dressing table. So the little bowls, they would bring you hot water. There was no power anywhere. So they used solar chargers. You had a solar flashlight, solar lights in your room. They heated the water and brought it by bucket. So you could wash your face in warm water in the morning and the afternoon. The lower right, they bring you a hot water bottle in your bed at night. And you don't know how nice that is until you have it. But it was amazing to have a hot water bottle in the bed with you at night. And
Yeah.
then on the left was our shower and toilet tent. So the front part's a shower, and the green hose goes up to a bucket. And there's kind of the door in the front, the door in the middle. There's a toilet in the back, which is a hole dug in the ground, and kind of a wooden commode on top, and a bucket of ash. So after you use it, you put ash in it. But I had my private bathroom. Every tent had their own bathroom.
It's luxurious roughing it, don't you think?
It is. And then they would bring the hot water like at 6 at night or whenever we got done riding and tell you the showers were ready. They would lift the buckets up, and it was enough to take a reasonable slow shower, and you could get it done. And if there were two people, when the first bucket was empty, then they'd come bring you another bucket.
And again, that's luxurious roughing it. Like, if it's going to be, I mean, it's just, you do what you do, but look how gorgeous it is. Apparently, we have some smarty pants here in the audience. We have, I'm not sure who this is, but black rhinos have hooked upper lips and white rhinos have a square lip. Love that. Thank you. So
But
who's
that's
these?
really hard to see when you're not right next to them.
And you shouldn't be, right? And you don't want, I love my mom's giggling in the background. Black rhinos have hook upper lips, square lip and a bump towards the lower part of black. White ones are lighter, sort of gray, but not white. Oh my gosh, that's so cute.
It's not that easy to see in person, though.
It's really, really not. I agree, Teresa. That trip is on your bucket list. And I love this though. And I agree, Linda, this is what it looks and feels like. And you're exhausted anyway, so you sleep so well. And then you went at what time of year again?
This was in July.
So that is the winter time. So that's why the hot water bottle,
Yeah, it got
right?
a little chilly at night. I mean, we wore short or long sleeves during the day, but you needed a light jacket at night.
Yes. Hold on one second. This is a good question. So if you needed to use a CPAP machine, this is not the safari to take.
Yeah, there's nothing to, I mean, they had for charging cell phones, they had a table with the solar charger so you could charge your phones, but they were only usable for like 4 hours in the afternoon, or during the day. Or you could charge stuff in the Jeep during the Jeep safari. So they would charge things during the day in the Jeep, but there was no electric to plug in.
Good point. Somebody says get a battery, but then also, you have a lot of variables on that one too. Another question. And here a couple people were asking about shots, and we're just going to say, Shannon, thank you for this. Carrie, I believe you commented as well too. Always go to the Department of State for the most up-to-date information. You could learn more about all of that in the lounge. Yes, thank you for that plug, Shannon. But that is a great point. You want to go up to date, not necessarily what you're somebody who's been there, a couple months before. It could always change. Somebody also wanted to know, are there any children in these tours? If so,
For our horseback tour, there weren't, because you had to be an experienced rider to do this tour. But Gordy and Felicia's two kids were there and were running around camp. They were very entertaining. So kids are around, and they do have kids on their other types of safaris, but there weren't any riding with us just because of the type of tour it was.
Speaking of single travel, Sue, I love my hottie, and I'm not talking about my boyfriend, but my hot water bottle. I'm gonna start calling it that too. Oh, somebody says they sell CPAP batteries, but it's kind of a pain to carry them. I'm gonna guess that this is Mira on that too, since she's our sleep expert in there too. Oh, somebody says, Linda, I wish I went with you. Looks amazing. Oh, highly recommend a travel CPAP. Just got one and uses a lot less power. Mommy,
Good to know.
I'm tipping my mom in over here too. So I love this. Okay, next up, we knew we were going to go long because there's so
Yeah.
much. Oh, this looks like
This was our dining tent. So,
Mm.
I mean, it was nice. It was fancy. They served you drinks, whatever you wanted. They had a full bar, and waited on you. So it was really nice.
Oh my gosh, this is
And our
gorgeous.
camp, we moved like every third day. So they moved this entire camp, all the bathrooms, dug the new holes. So we had 4 separate camps. We stayed like 2 nights in each one. We had 4 separate camps during the safari.
Oh God, and sundowners, of course. I don't know if y'all know that,
Yeah.
but that is cocktails at sundown. Just oof, it is.
There's a couple pictures. There we go. There's our sundowners.
There it is.
So,
See that on the upper right. There's your bar. And sundowners
yep,
generally includes gin, and that's what I see. I see a
there's
Bombay.
all and then this was a table they set up out for us as well.
Which is lovely too. Good question. Vicky wants to know if you don't want to stay in a tent, are there hotels you can stay in and just still do the safaris?
So we were out on the Masai Mara the whole time. So there are no hotels there,
Yeah.
but you could stay in Nairobi or one of the other towns and take a Jeep safari out each day and
Day
go
trip.
on and do the safaris. But there's none out here on the Masai.
I stayed with the hide that was outside of Zimbabwe, and then also Camp Hwange, which is the Hwange National Park, Hwange National Park, HWANGE, and you trek in about 4 or 5 hours on some of these things. So for the immersive experience, no, definitely.
Yeah, but then when we were sleeping out on the Masai, you heard the hyenas and the lions coming through camp at night.
Oh gosh,
Hyatt doesn't have that.
Yeah, Hyatt does
So,
not have that exactly.
this
But it's
was
all
some of our staff. So the 3 together brought your coffee to your tent, coffee or tea every morning, and woke you up and see if you needed anything. But you got coffee served in your tent every morning.
Oh, it is just delightful. And if it's a well run, and I know your organization was well run, and I know the ones that I work with as well too, they're very beneficial to their staff and their employees and to the community and environment. Absolutely. Okay. Other
Yep.
safaris have physical structures and villas, depending on the trip you select. Absolutely. Oh, look at this. Okay. A little bit more about
So
this.
this was part of our ride part. So we got real up close with both zebras and giraffes. The one in the middle is my horse's ears coming up to our sundowner under the tree.
Oh, I love that picture.
And we crossed a lot of water. We have a video going across a really deep river where you had to worry about the alligators, the hippos. So it was kind of a rush. The guides looked for it, didn't see anything, and off we went. But it was a little hairy because it was really deep. But probably the most dangerous thing on horseback is a hippo coming out, or the buffalo or the elephants. They can all be kind of dangerous on horseback.
They can. I love the comments here. We have definitely people that are Shannon saying, no, thank you. I'll stay at the Giraffe Hotel and take Jeep tours. No, right? 100%. I totally understand too. And I thank you for this comment. It looks like your adventure and travel experiences. However, you're a luxury flyer. I like your style. Thanks for showing us how you can combine a love for outdoor life with the luxury of terrific flights. Well said, Linda. Thank you. That's so true. Linda, that's what you're showing us. Okay, border of Kenya and Tanzania. Oh, wow.
Yeah. So this was the Serengeti. Serengeti is in Tanzania. And we were at the Out of Africa camp where they actually, when they filmed the movie, all the crew stayed there with Gordy's, our leader's dad. So that was pretty cool. But we took a Jeep tour this day and let the horses rest so we could drive to the Serengeti and see the beginning of the migrations. So this was at the border. The concrete mound there is how they're lined up all across this plain for the border. It was actually late this year. And I learned that the migrations kind of go in a big oval. They go up one side from Tanzania into Kenya, stay there for a while and eat. When the food runs out, then they circle back around the other side and go back to Tanzania. So they go in a big oval. And this year it was late because they usually start in May or June, and we were at the end of July, and the wildebeest were just starting to migrate.
Beautiful. Oh, hi, buddy. Now we have a bunch of pictures of just different ones. And this was where?
This was at, I think, the Out of Africa camp. These
Oh,
were all on the horseback. This one was in the Nairobi National Park.
we'll pop through these real quick since we're coming up at the end of the hour, but look at
The
these
one on
gorgeous.
the right was the wildebeest migration.
Oh, and look at them all
There
too,
were
which is
hundreds and thousands of them in the back.
that's wonderful time. Mama and baby.
Yep.
Oh, look at
Really,
that.
the jackal. He got so close to him.
Oh my gosh, you really, really did. Oh
We had
boy,
a lot of close encounters with elephants.
Right, we did as well too, and also
We
with
saw some
lions.
really cool lions.
Yeah, oh, look at this. Okay, you have a photo of one of my favorites. Now this is gorgeous too. The waterbuck male.
Yep.
The secretary bird. I cannot believe when I was in
They're
Africa
huge.
they're
They're
huge, and
enormous.
they I think they call them that because the stomping like they're typing. Birds were really, I know we all go for the, the big five and things like that when we go to Africa, but I must admit that I was stunned at how fascinated I was by the birds in
Yep.
Africa. So please pay attention to that. They're just incredible, right? Yes, they are fabulous photos. Hyena, lovely. Oh, that's a good one. That's
Those
actually,
were the two hippos that were fighting.
Mhm.
They went back and forth, and water was splashing. It was a pretty cool thing to watch.
Somebody says, I chased by a hippo in Kenya when I was a kid. They're very dangerous. The things my parents let us do in the 60s. Geez, I'm lucky to be alive. Yeah, ours were our parents smoking with the windows up and no seatbelts. So yours is cooler, being chased by a hippo. Oh, that's lovely. Same thing. Oh gosh, I love the
Oh, the
action shots.
otters were so cool to watch.
What's the water behind you? Or behind the ostrich here?
That's in Nairobi National Park. That's Nairobi.
Okay.
That's the city right behind it.
Isn't that interesting how it looks like that? Okay,
This
great.
was our crew that took care of us. And the Maasai warriors are in the big red robe. So they had two Maasai warriors that stayed with the horses all night long to make sure that a lion or something wouldn't come attack them or us. So the Maasai warriors stayed up all night and took care of us. And you can see the two little kids right in the middle. Those are Gordy and Felicia's two kids. So they were with us this week.
Wonderful. And I'll tell you, that's the thing you really need to pay attention. When they give you instructions in Africa, you do not divert from those whatsoever. If you are not supposed to go out of your tent at a certain time, you do not. They will come and accompany you too. They do not want people messing around thinking we know better at all, or, it's a mess around and find out kind of thing too. Let's see. So, and somebody, I think you mentioned you just took these with your cell phone.
Cell phone, and then for some of I brought just a little Kodak camera, one of the little instant cameras that had a zoom lens so I could get closer, but it's no fancy camera. It's just your little $200 point and shoot.
Yeah, I agree. I really want to go back too. So, just so you know, Linda at the beginning of this and throughout the presentation gave you a ton of great information and very, very specific details about how she booked this travel by herself and what she did. So as soon as we get done here, you can watch the replay. You can watch it several times. And I know, Linda, you'll go back in and answer some comments as well too,
Sure.
right?
And I can put in my contacts. I'll go back in and put in the contacts for who I used.
Wonderful.
And one little plug, I'm going back to Africa next July on a gorilla trek, and it's 8 people maximum, and we have 7 JGOOT Village loungers going, and I need a roommate. So we have 1 spot left for July of 24 on a gorilla trek in Uganda and Rwanda.
So if you have not been inspired to do this, these are good chance. Absolutely. Plus you get to travel with Linda. Now I'm like, what am I doing next July? I'm in that mood. So act fast. Absolutely. Linda, we so appreciate your time and all this information you shared with us.
Oh, it was fun. Thank you.
Yeah, I told you. I was like, you're going to have fun. Talk about the cool places you traveled. So again, Linda is a lounge member. If you're interested in finding out more about the lounge, comment interested. It's that easy. If you'd like to know more about the book, comment book, and we'll get your information. And again, if you were late, which you're very late if you're just now tuning in, you can hit the replay button. And I want to give a quick PSA if you don't mind. If you have any question, you're here in the lounge, you can always shoot an email to support@jgoot.com. If I didn't get that right, somebody tell me, because sometimes I get random emails from folks and I'm not the one. So you can go to support@jgoot.com. And then it looks like I have one. Let's see. Brooke, I think I've got about 240 comments. I bet I have more. So if you want to let me know, because we had a ton of comments, but we have a giveaway for the $100 travel savings card. So let me see if we have any more. And then I'm going to have Linda tell me a random number here in a second. And if I don't hear from her, I'm going to go to 265, I'm going to guess.
Perfect.
But it's hard because I've got too many screens open and I can't go over there and look that up too. So, 270. I was close, Brooke. Thank you. It's just so magic. It's like, see, I got my phone right here and Brooke from above just lets me know. It's wonderful. No, 270. So pick a random number between 1 and 270, please, Miss Linda.
68.
Woo! Commenter number 68. You are the winner. So please tell Linda thanks in the comments here because she did such a wonderful job too. So, and then if you're interested in the lounge, comment interested, and one of our coaches will get in touch with you. Shannon says, I'll even give up my spot if people want to fight over that last spot. Well, Shannon just let the cat out of the bag that she's going, which I love. Brooke will follow up with commenter number 68 for your $100 travel savings card. And y'all, that is it. We are out of here. Again, thank you so much, Linda. It's so valuable. We appreciate you. Somebody
Okay,
says,
thank you.
yay. I agree, Carrie. This was wonderful. Oh, Vicky, yes, I agree. Thank you so much for it. So y'all, we'll see you next week. As Joel says every week, happy travels.
Bye.
Thanks.